The arrogance of man is thinking nature is in our control, and not the other way around. Let them fight.
Ladies and gentlemen, this video is going to be a real behemoth, if you'll pardon the pun. Today we are covering new features coming with Stellaris Biogenesis. We have the brand new player crisis Behemoth Fury that lets you basically play as space kaiju. We have access to all of the new civics that are coming with Stellaris Biogenesis. We're going to take a look at the brand new Hive Fallen Empire that's splintered into 3 distinct fragments and has special in-game quests to give you. And we're looking at the new Wilderness Origin that lets you basically roleplay as the planet Ego. You're playing as a single world unified under one hive mind. From the soil to the sky, everything will be you. And after we've done all of that, we're then going to be looking at the partial patch notes to look at every major feature coming, not just in the paid DLC Stellaris Biogenesis, but also all of the free major features coming with Stellaris 4.0. So stick around for all of that and more, and without any further ado, let's dive in. Let's start with the big ticket item, the brand new player crisis path that allows you to play as a space kaiju, a Godzilla amongst the stars, Behemoth Fury. This new crisis path is only available to empires that choose to play with the biological ship sets. This will be a must-play for all enjoyers of kaiju movies, titanic dragons, and big monsters in general. In it, you seek to transcend the weak form that binds you to planets and prevents you from just having the time of your life in space under the foolish excuses that you need to breathe, be warm, or that solar radiation can mess up your systems. Your path to a new life begins with figuring out how to craft new spaceborne life forms. In order to support the ever-growing number of crisis paths, there are now 3 player crisis paths if you include the new one. The crisis tab has been made even more modular and can now accommodate new backgrounds and color schemes. But anyway, the developers are digressing. Behemoth Fury will see you accumulate feral insight to progress through the levels, with the biggest rewards coming from birthing and interacting with behemoths. Looking at the numbers here, birthing a behemoth grants you 1,900 of this feral insight point, so that's the biggest ticket. Growing those eggs is also a good one too, as well as raging, we'll find out what that is in a bit, but just breeding space fauna and building biological ships will also give you points here. There are lots of abilities and effects we're going to be unlocking. Most of the perks revolve around them directly, around the behemoths, but quite a few will significantly buff your bioships, your food production, and your society research as your empire is skewed towards developing and supporting these behemoths. Let's take a look at 2 of the new perks as examples. First, here we have the accelerated field trials. You're going to get plus 1.5 society research per 100 farmers. Comparing that to the current version of the game, that's basically plus 1.5 society research per farmer. Because don't forget, there has been an economic rework in 4.0, meaning that every 1 job has been replaced with 100 jobs. After that, we've got faster growth cycles, so your ship alloys cost goes down by 95%, and your ship build speed goes up by 15%. This basically pretty much removes any alloy costs for growing biological ships. So far, these bonuses don't sound wildly powerful, but I believe that's because most of the power in this crisis path lies in the behemoths themselves. In order to birth these behemoths, you must first prepare a suitable vessel for something this size. A megastructure ought to do it. The behemoth eggs are built and hatched exclusively with food, so those farmers had better get to work. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, this is the food crisis. They really are trying to make farmers great again. You're going to need a lot of food. This is going to cost, let's see, 100,000 food in order to build just a single behemoth egg. That is quite expensive. It's only going to take you 10 years to build this thing, and then after that, I believe you're going to have to hatch the bugger. Newborn space kaiju are not that impressive yet. They have a mere 28.5 thousand fleet power, and a lot of it comes from how tanky they are. They are still a far cry from the objective of breeding the ultimate predator in the galaxy, but they are a necessary first step. Let's take a look here. So, they are going to grow up. There's a growth bar with a button, it looks like, and also a rage status. They are agitated at the moment. The developers are telling us to note the fancy new ship UI that made way for a brand new growth bar and the very non-threatening rage status we just spoke about. As your baby behemoth goes around the galaxy, living its best life by eating ships and pops, they do this by bombarding planets. It's not big enough to eat an entire planet just yet. This then fills up the growth meter. Once the meter is full, it turns into a button, and if you're far enough along the crisis path, you'll be able to click it to send the behemoth back into an egg, or a chrysalis if you want to be technical about it. Once again, you can spend a lot more food in order to let an even bigger beast emerge, ready to feast upon an unsuspecting galaxy. Let's take a look at that chrysalis there. So to go up to the next size after gestating, you'll have to spend 125,000 food and wait for 1,080 days. I assume that it's still a little while. That's what, 3 years? But maybe that's been reduced by some megastructure construction speed things. However, this is not without danger. Behemoths are dangerous beasts, and until you can find a way to fully control them, yes, they're not fully under your control when you start building the damn things, they will escape your grasp from time to time, succumbing to their rage and hunger. You're kind of building space hulks out here. I don't really know how to put it better. With the right stimulation, you can, however, induce this rage artificially, unleashing the behemoth when the time is right. Whilst raging, a behemoth will attack anything else in the system, then attempt to seek out the closest source of food, a colony or another behemoth egg, to go and devour it. As a Behemoth Crisis Empire, you can defeat them in combat to beat them back into submission and take control of them once again, while other empires that can prevail over a raging beast will kill it. So if you attack your behemoth, you will not kill it, but if you allow someone else to attack your nascent creature, they may end up killing it. There is a little more finesse to this system, such as the fact that a fully fed behemoth no longer randomly rages, or that if two behemoths meet, they will try to fight each other, possibly to the death. The rage status indicator in the fleet view should let you know when your beast is at risk of succumbing to its anger. So basically, the devs are saying, let them fight. It is absolutely possible to get killed by your own feral behemoths, and the developers have lost count of the number of times where they got game overed when testing the rage whilst they only owned a single colony. So definitely don't do that. Don't own a single colony and let your behemoth kill you. That would be very silly. Here we have the artificial enrage button. It's going to cost you 15,000 food and 150 exotic gases, and it does have a cooldown of a year and a half. You're going to let loose your behemoth by pressing this button. It will then head towards the closest colony or behemoth egg and attempt to destroy it. This rage normally lasts around 6 months, but several factors can affect that duration. Every day that it is in combat or bombarding, it will not calm down. However, of course, if you defeat the raging behemoth in combat, it will return back under your control. The very last level of this crisis is the most transformative in terms of gameplay, possibly that the developers have ever added into this game. As usual, crossing that final line is up to you, but it will have important consequences. First off, the galactic community will of course collectively declare war upon you, and even fallen empires have a chance to decide if they want to step in and fight you or not. You will also get the Mind Meld special project, which you'll need to complete. This allows you to assume full control of a mighty Class 4 behemoth, a creature unmatched in its capacity to dominate the galaxy. Having completed this special project, you actually assume full control of one of your behemoths, which will in turn keep all of the others in line. It is the King of monsters. This also prevents any of your other behemoths from raging unless you choose to use the rage action. As you then merge the minds of your population with the beasts, you will unlock increasingly powerful bonuses before your final ascension. So with the mind meld complete, you are truly the Godzilla of space. Only a few more steps lie between you and your ambitions. First, you must grow accustomed to your new shared body that you're sharing with, I assume, billions of other sapients from your empire. Sounds a bit chaotic if you ask me. And keeping the transferred minds of your people. But more importantly, you need to crush any would-be contender, whomever they may be. You must find and kill any other Class 4 behemoths in the galaxy. So if any other empires are going down this path, you must find and defeat them. You must complete the Growing Pains situation, and you must slay the blankety blank. What's that? A final boss? Yeah, nothing to worry about. No need to panic. There's definitely no Space King Ghidorah to worry about or anything like that. It's absolutely fine. Pay no attention. Let's just move on. Each city district in your capital will be swapped with a Mind Link Metropolis. These produce unity and research for each pop that has already been transferred and whose mind has become one with the behemoth. The starting output is tiny, but it will rapidly increase as long as you can find more volunteers. So that's going to be giving us some research, some unity. It does have some food upkeep. In terms of jobs, we get a few clerks, but then a lot of transference volunteers. 10% of the pops working this job will get transferred every 6 months, killing them, but multiplying the district's resource output. Basically, the devs are saying this is a whole kaiju take my energy kind of situation. On the other hand, having a mind link with a beast like the behemoth can prove very distracting and raises questions like, what's the point of anything in life when all I want is to merge with the beast? Such thoughts are represented by the following modifier and will grow worse as you progress through the final situation of the crisis. You're getting a reduction to pop growth speed and jobs, an increase to empire size and pop food upkeep, but an increase in citizen pop happiness as well. So they are going to get happier and happier as you transfer more and more of them into the minds of your kaiju. Speaking of the growing pain situation, this is going to track how well you adapt to your new body and will let you unlock increasingly powerful mutations for your Class 4 behemoth. This will grow it into the ultimate starborn predator. There are 3 approaches: fight, digest, and flight. The situation progresses faster depending on your approach and your growth factor, which tracks how many pops have been transferred, as well as how much you've managed to eat so far. At this point, your behemoth will reach its adult size and can simply go around the galaxy gobbling up habitable planets to absorb both their biomass and their population. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, you are in essence a colossus that goes around eating planets rather than cracking them. Here we can see a little bit more insight into the growth factor, which goes down every month by 0.75%. You can increase it by killing other behemoths, leviathans, or just regular biological ships, and eating habitable planets or pops sends it up as well. The minimum value is equal to 0.5% per 100 transferred pops. I think the transferring pops also increases this too. It did say that earlier, I'm pretty sure. At this stage of the growth, the behemoth makes full use of the new fleet UI created for the hero ship, and this can unlock activated abilities as you progress through the growing pains situation. At every stage, and let's not forget there were 8 stages in total during this situation, you will be given a choice of bonuses to gain. The first of which regards the types of eggs you want your behemoth to lay. Eggs will be able to hatch into other baby behemoths or swarms of bioships to support your creature as it devours the galaxy. So here we have 3 excellent choices. You can accelerate egg growth, empower your hatchlings, or strengthen the shells. That artwork looks pretty phenomenal as well. That is our behemoth eating a void spawn, I'm pretty sure. Wowzers. I'm going to guess that accelerate egg growth means that, of course, your eggs hatch faster, empowering your hatchlings means they're more powerful when they hatch, and strengthening the shells improves the eggs or the chrysalis so that it is stronger and more able to withstand enemy attacks. By the end of the situation, you will have unlocked 5 new activated abilities. These are located under the usual orders bar in the Fleet Manager. These abilities can target planets, enemy fleets, ally fleets, or the Behemoth itself. And oh yes, one of them lets you cloak your Behemoth if you have the First Contact DLC. And this Behemoth currently has a cloaking rating of 7, making it pretty darn strong. At only 380,000 fleet power though, I'm not sure this Behemoth is very survivable. I mean, I'd happily come up with 1 million fleet power to try and kill the thing, though I suppose we do have the other smaller creatures and bioships we can swarm around it, so it's not just the one ship by itself. The developers have also said they can't wait to see what modders will do with this new system, this new hero ability that can be added to any fleet in the game with modding. That could be really interesting. Yeah, Stellaris might be a MOBA now. What? In addition to having these 5 abilities, your Behemoth will not be locked in combat. It will be like a Colossus. You can still order it around while fighting, and you even get fancy combat UI improvements to let you trigger its various abilities. I wonder if this allows us to leave a system while we're locked in combat, to go FTL or to jump or to do something like that. This would make the Behemoth very strong, very survivable, and allow us to do additional levels of combat micromanagement that are not currently possible with any other ships in the game, because a Colossus doesn't act like a normal ship. It doesn't try and shoot enemy ships. Here we can see the combat UI with some buttons that can be used whilst you are in that combat. The developers have given us a small sample of the different abilities that this specific Behemoth has. Bear in mind that all abilities have swaps except the Thermoclastic Roar that doesn't need a swap. This is all very novel stuff, so the fleet power doesn't really reflect abilities like this. And if the devs are being honest, they're certain that players will manage to break this new system in exciting ways, and the devs cannot wait for the memes. First off, we have Activate Cloaking. You can of course become cloaked. Energy Burst deals 60% damage to every ship in the largest hostile military fleet in the system. Does that mean they lose 60% of their HP instantly? And that has a cooldown of 6 months for only 3,000 food? Hold up. Or is that 60% of your damage output gets dealt to every ship in the largest hostile military fleet in the system? I'm thinking it might be the second. If it's the first, that just does seem very strong. You can also spawn a fleet with a capacity of 64 that will die after 6 months, but doesn't use up any naval capacity for 30,000 food. And then there is Thermoclastic Roar. This deals devastating damage to all fleets and colonies in the system. I wonder if it also deals damage to your own fleets and your own colonies. It does say all, so I would suspect that could be the case. That sounds very strong. It does have a cooldown, however, of 5 years, so once you use it, you can't use it for a long time after that. I suppose that kind of power would be good if you try to attack the Behemoth with a large combination of fleets, say 1.5 million fleet power. The first thing it could do is do a Thermoclastic Roar and then hit you with an Energy Burst to basically wipe out the strongest fleet you've got and deal devastating damage to all other fleets you have. The devs definitely don't have the room for all mutations to be listed, so they're going to give us a few numbers about the crisis. There are a very large number of combinations of mutations. At least 78,732 due to the factorial nature of looking at combinatorics. There are 13 different active abilities and 21 different passive bonuses, and on top of that, one allegedly invincible final boss that you must defeat in order to win the game if you go for the Behemoth Crisis. There's also a lot more that they don't have time to tell us about, and we will need to discover for ourselves. This is definitely the most unique crisis path I think we've ever heard of in Stellaris. There's a whole host of basically unique gameplay features here you can't get elsewhere. It is going to shift the game of Stellaris completely on its head for the ending portion of the game, especially if you kill off all of your own colonies and then simply play as your behemoth flying around and trying to murder the galaxy. I want to test this out and play it before I of course make a firm judgment on it, but so far it does sound very cool and unique. And if you're into your kaiju, if you're into your Godzilla mythos, this could definitely be a crisis you want to get your hands on. Don't forget, if you'd like to pick up Stellaris Season 9 or pre-order Stellaris Biogenesis, you can do so by using our link to the Paradox Interactive Store and also supporting this channel. I think about 12.5% of your purchase goes towards supporting this channel if you use our link, or at the checkout use the code MONTUPLAYS. If you're not sure whether or not Biogenesis is a DLC you want to pick up just yet, hold on. On the 5th of May, when the DLC comes out, I am going to be releasing a review video so you can hear all of my thoughts and where I think this DLC places in the greater Stellaris pantheon of DLC. I said there was a lot to get through. We're covering 2 developer diaries in this video. Now let's look at the brand new portraits coming in with Biogenesis. Here are 9 new mammalian portraits that are going to be available for everyone for free. Whether or not you buy the DLC, these are going to be included in the 4.0 release. Some of these really remind me of some of the aliens in Lilo and Stitch. Definitely the fellow down on the bottom right, 2 from the right on the bottom. That really reminds me of one of the aliens, but just with a bit more hair, a bit more stubble. I really like the alien on the top left. I'm getting very much psionic vibes from them. And bottom left alien definitely creeps me out. Not sure about the claws or the face there. I'm not saying I'm a xenophobe, but purging would be an option. I have to say though, I'm very impressed the devs are adding these mammalian portraits not to the DLC, but actually for free as part of the base game. That is really cool. That's a very excellent commitment. We're now going to take a look at the new civics coming with Biogenesis. We'll start with the civics coming for regular and or corporate empires. First off, we have crowdsourcing. If you like tech rushing and you don't care about Unity so much, which honestly I think these days is a mistake, but if that's the game you want to play, crowdsourcing is probably for you. Your factions will produce research points instead of Unity, and they will form right at the start of the game. So basically, this is the parliamentary system of research. This is going to give you a large increase to research right off the bat. I think the numbers we're seeing here as well are early game numbers. I'm pretty sure we're starting the game off with around 4,000 pops on our home planet, more if we have prosperous unification. So this bonus research here, which looks to be somewhere in the region of around 150, that's really quite a lot right at the start of the game, could be very, very useful. You must not have a fanatic ethic in order to take this, and you get a special counselor position that increases your faction resource output by 4% per level. That is very, very strong. Genetic identification is going to give you more society research from bureaucrats. Every 100 bureaucrats gets plus 1.5 society research. Comparing that to current numbers, that's basically currently every 1 bureaucrat would get plus 1.5 society research. I don't think this is amazing. I think bureaucrats, especially in the early game, are kind of useless. You can get most of your Unity through politicians and factions and other sources like just other sources than bureaucrats. So maybe not the best. It does increase your encryption and reduce crime, which is kind of alright, but overall I think that's kind of a mediocre civic. Civil education is a little bit of a weird one. You're going to replace all enforcers with educators and all precinct houses with state academies. This basically means your enforcers are going to be producing research instead of producing stability. It is a small trickle of research plus 0.75 of each type per 100 civilians. That is around a quarter of what a normal researcher outputs at base plus 3. But in addition to that, you are going to get some unity, crime reduction, and governing ethics attraction alongside some defensive army. So it's basically a soft swap here, I think, for no stability. Instead, you're getting a small amount of research. I think we'll have to test this out to see if it's really very strong at all. It could be quite nice with police state or oppressive autocracy. Unfortunately, it does prevent you from taking police state or oppressive autocracy, so I'm not entirely sure what the intention here is. Important point to make on the crowdsourcing, those numbers are definitely not final. And genetic ideas combining cybercreed with dimensional worship for a no scientist run if you really, really want to do that. You can get those three together and then you'll get science output from only your Unity producers, your priests and the like. And civil education does stack with utopian abundance, I am being told. And I've also made a little bit of a mistake here. I'm so sorry. That isn't your enforcers getting research output. That is your civilians getting research output as well. That's why it stacks with utopian abundance. So basically, you can add state civil education alongside utopian abundance to get some massive research numbers on your civilian, which would otherwise be called unemployed population, alongside trade value and some other things. Have they actually made clerks great again? And maybe this is actually a run idea. I'm thinking state education, civilian education, utopian abundance, make everybody a civilian, so they're going to be producing trade value, research, and unity. You can use the trade value to buy resources. Maybe mass unemployment really could work. Oh my goodness me, I'm excited for that. Let's take a look now at the Hive Civics. There is aerospace adaptation. Biological ships in orbit of friendly colonies have a minus 50% ship upkeep. That sounds strong. Friendly colonies with biological ships in orbit get increased build speed, amenities, clear blocker speed, and potentially job output depending on the fleet size. Holy crap. Biological ships in orbit of hostile colonies have a minus 85% ship upkeep. Right, so basically, your biological ships are going to get a lot of their upkeep needs from the population around them. Wowzers, that doesn't sound too terrible at all. And those bonuses there, at the top level, we're getting 100% planetary infrastructure build speed, which is nice, 40% more amenities, very nice, and 5% more resources from jobs, definitely very cool. I wonder how much fleet power you need in order to achieve that. Familiar Face gives your envoys and officials the physical form of the empires they are assigned to. This sounds like something out of The Culture by Ian Banks. Oh my goodness me. Trust required to perform diplomatic actions, minus 50%. Basically, it's like the TV show V. You're going to put your lizards inside human skin so everyone trusts them more. Nice. Plus 2 more envoys, 15% more infiltration speed, minus 2 operation difficulty, and 25% regulatory node experience gain. This sounds like a really fun thematic civic, not necessarily the most powerful civic. Definitely good if you're trying to do a bit of a diplomatic run as a hive, but overall not that strong. Shared genetics is a little bit weird. So the hive's mutated genome was used as the basis to grow its biological ships. For each positive main species trait, you're going to get plus 2.5% ship hull. For each negative main species trait, you're going to get 1.5% ship fire rate, and again, with both of those plus 0.5% upkeep. Okay, so with evolutionary predators that can stack a whole host of positive and negative traits, I'm thinking probably we could get, 10, 15 traits in there. That's like at least 25% more ship hull and maybe 10 or 15% more ship fire rate. Holy crap, that could be really good. Though you only get to that point, I suppose, in the mid to late game, by which point you're getting a lot of modifiers for other things as well. Shared genetics definitely will build and get stronger as the game goes on. Possibly you could add that in alongside Devouring Swarm. Devouring Swarm, shared genetics, and evolutionary predators origin. That's starting to sound like quite a fun, powerful combo. You're going to get a lot of bonuses to ship hull. You're going to eat other species once you conquer their worlds, take on the traits they have, and then get stronger ships to eat more species, take on more traits, get more powerful. Oh my goodness me. Yes, I love it. I love it. There is a single machine civic being added in here. the Stalwart Network, it gives you minus 10% starbase upkeep, 10% home territory fire rate, that's definitely not bad at all, +1 disengagement opportunities, that's really good. Okay, actually this sounds really quite good if you are about to go to war. I might swap into this around year 20 or 30 before going on a bit of a conquest spree as a machine empire, and then swap out again a little bit later on. Though, of course, this is a biological DLC. It's biogenesis. It's all about biologicals. I'm honestly slightly surprised they've even bothered adding in a regular machine civic, though it's nice to know that machines aren't entirely forgotten in this new filthy flesh age. Last, but I'm pretty sure by no means least, we have the Redacted Civic. The Redacted Civic is just a fairy tale told to get species spawn name plural to keep them afraid of the dark and keep them in line. It's definitely not real and it can't hurt you. You start the game with 1,000 assimilated pops and the ability to assimilate organics into your hive mind. You have access to the Prepare Invasion Espionage mission, and you gain extra pops from the Smuggle Population Espionage mission. Then, basically, the Smuggle Population operation difficulty go down by -2, and you get 25% growth node experience gain. In essence, this is infiltration of the Body Snatchers, invasion of the Body Snatchers, I'm pretty sure. You're going to go into an organic civilization, absorb them, add them to the hive mind, and then take them off-world. This is thematically terrifying, but in-game, I'm very here for it. I assume you have to be a hive mind, though the Civic doesn't actually say that. It does say this hive specializes in infiltration, but it's not part of the requirements to be a hive mind, so I'm not sure. Though having said that, none of the hive civics we looked at earlier have that included in their UI anymore, so I think they've just quietly removed that from the UI, the Gestalt Consciousness hive mind requirement. Let's take a look at the Prepare Invasion operation then. And if you're enjoying this video, please prepare the invasion of that like button. So, this operation warrants a few more explanation in regards to what it does, and these are going to be made by Iggy. Smuggle Population is a new operation available to everybody that lets you steal a few hundred pops from a target empire. Yes, you heard me right, everyone gets access to that new operation. Wow. Whether you're using it to liberate slaves or acquire fuel for the synaptic lathe, that's entirely up to you. Prepare Invasion is exclusive to this Civic, only the Redacted Civic, and for a cost of pops, will let you strike from the shadows at the beginning of a war, flipping starbases in a system close to you, and even spawning a handful of armies on some planets in an attempt to conquer them by surprise. The total number of systems affected by this effect depends on how many of your pops you choose to sacrifice when preparing the operation, with a maximum of 2,000 pops of the victim species for, get ready for this, 50% of its controlled systems. If you sacrifice 2,000 pops, which in previous numbers that would be 20. So let's say you're in the mid game and you've got, let's say you've got 50,000 pops. Sacrificing 2% of your population would allow you to flip control of 50% of the systems in your enemy space before a shot has been fired. That sounds insane. Anyway, you can prepare invasion on their planets, their outposts, send all you can, and I think you can do all three. You can infiltrate their fortresses, and you can do all of it. You can attack them basically everywhere. This sounds really quite interesting. I'm very excited about the Smuggle Population operation. I think I'll be doing that a lot in the early game. Once I make contact with aliens, I'm going to be going out there, doing Smuggle Population as often as I can, and getting 3 new pops. If we can run that even every 10 years per empire, and let's say I've got 3 or 4 envoys, that would be an additional 1,200 pops every 10 years, which is more than the growth of kind of 1 or 2 planets, I would think, if it's anything like the old system of population growth. Wow, that is really cool. I'm very excited to try out both of these new espionage operations. I wonder if Smuggle Population is coming to everyone as part of a free update for 4.0, or if that's included in Biogenesis. I'm thinking it's part of the free update, but it could be in Biogenesis by itself. It's not really mentioned here which it is. Alright, I'm going to take a moment here and relax for about 3 to 5 seconds. I'm going to allow you, if you need to get up and stretch your legs, now is the time to do so. We're turning the page and moving to the other dev diary that I want to cover before we get into a few patch notes as well right at the end. We're now going to be looking at Hive Fallen Empires, the brand new Hive Fallen Empire that's been included, and the Wilderness Origin, which lets you play with basically no population. You're playing as living planets. It does sound very, very interesting. All right, let's dive in and find out more about the new Hive Fallen Empire. Ladies and gentlemen, for the very first time since Synthetic Dawn, a new ancient will join us in the galaxy. A hive mind, once united in purpose, now lies fragmented. Each embodiment is stuck trying to execute its own directive. The hive is fractured. Each has plans for becoming the dominating force within their former collective, and you might be able to nudge who ends up in charge. Okay, Stellaris supports conference calls now. That's, fun. Lovely. Right. So, there are 3 signals when you finally get in touch with this. We've got the growth splinter here, and then there are 2 other splinters as well. After an uncertain but definitely horrible disaster splintered their consciousness, I'm thinking the opening scene of Atlantis, to be quite honest, the Hive was left in 3 fragments: growth, war, and control. Each one has a distinct personality, system, and task. Though don't let differences fool you, they are all in a federation with each other, and declaring war on one will mean you have to fight all 3. This is a Hydra, ladies and gentlemen. The Fallen Empire spawns around a central system, as you can see here, and each fragment branches off with its own unique system. That central system is called Last Thought. All 3 fragments refuse to claim it, which is curious. Like most Fallen Empires, they are content seeing the universe pass them by, unless you do something that interests or annoy them. Let's take a look at some of these transmissions. So, why must you continue to blight the galaxy with your incompetent expansion? Everyone must be too repulsed to tell you, so we'll say it. Nobody likes your borders, and space would be vastly improved if you were not in it. The Hazra system is impractical and discordant. You must purge it from your empire now for the sake of galactic cohesion. So the control splinter wants you to get rid of a system, and if you do that, it will prettify your borders. They hate border gore. Here we can see the war splinter asking you to prove yourselves. You have a new biological breed of ship. The strain has already proven itself by decimating its fellow hatchlings, and the time has come to test it against something alien. A specimen will be arriving in Mirror in due course. You need to fight it. Right, so they're going to send you a ship and ask you to kill it. You could attempt to refuse, or you can go to battle stations, which I think means you basically can't refuse. The growth splinter would like you to give them a genetic sample of your species. You don't have to give them an entire pot. A single pore will suffice to cultivate a replacement. You can choose to give them someone's hand or paw, or not trust them with your genetic makeup. Some of these events will also work on the other AI empires in the galaxy, so they will be following and completing tasks as well. Don't worry about the fragment traits, that's fine. Don't worry about that. If you give them lots of traits, they're not going to get stronger or more powerful. It's absolutely fine. So each fragment has multiple tasks, and each task is quite a bit more reactive than the whole, hey, give us your scientists. Except for this one that seems to be, give us your paw. Seems kind of similar, but hey ho. So, make friends where you can, and try not to unleash something horrible on the galaxy. I have no idea what they mean there. What could they mean? Something that has always distinguished Fallen Empires from regular empires is that their ships are extra advanced. Well, the same is true here, but instead of using the same old technology of the other Fallen Empires, the fragments are going to use biological ones. A special, older and more intimidating version of the Spinivore shipset. Though honestly, looking at these, this does look a lot like the Spinivore shipset. I don't think it actually looks that uniquely different, where the normal Fallen Empire ships do look very uniquely different to a regular shipset. Just like other Fallen Empires, this will be your primary source for dark matter technology. Oh, excellent, they've got dark matter tech. Of course they do. When this unique Fallen Empire awakens, one must end up on top. This fragment will absorb the other fragments. One of the 3 awakened empires will form, each with different goals and behaviors depending on which fragment came out on top. 2 of them will be participating in the war in heaven, the 3rd one has other plans. Here is Control. So if Control get Ascendant, they are the Reforged Whip. Galaxy, we are whole. The inferior fragments have seen the truth and joined our collective once more. We will now be called the Revived Quadranitan command. How lucky you are to witness this moment. The supreme life form once more strides the stars. I'm getting real Children of Thanos. You rejoice. You are dying at the hands of the Mad Titan. Rejoice. We will now be taking command of your galactic community. Celebrations are warranted. Oh, good God, they become the custodian, do they? That's insane. Right, so if the Control fragment takes over, they take charge of the galactic community. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Overall, this Fallen Empire does seem pretty unique, actually. I'm assuming this is coming as part of the DLC and not part of the base game. But yeah, overall, I'm quite excited to have a little play with these new hive mind fragments of a Fallen Empire. Let's now look at the Wilderness origin. This, without a doubt, is the most transformative origin the devs have ever added to the game. The Wilderness is a hive mind exclusive origin requiring you to play with biological ships, and it leaves behind mechanical buildings and nasty things like colony ships. Disgusting. The experience that they want to bring us is experiencing the galaxy as a living planet. We are playing as Ego. This is the Ego point of view origin. Species trait Wilderness replaces all standard buildings, districts, and district specialization with bespoke ones. You replace the colony ships with terraforming, and you unlock new resources called biomass. Your homeworld is a size 18 world with the Scorched Plains blocker. You also get a modifier of planetary build queue capacity +5. Does that mean we can build 5 things at once? Okay, interesting. What the devs want to emphasize here is that you don't share a single base building or district with regular empires. You do have some overlap when it comes to civics and such, but in general, you will live as a planet. And we can see here greetings from Telon. And what a beautiful planet it is. Isn't it lush and verdant and beautiful and definitely not hiding any evil below the surface? There isn't an asphalt road as far as the planet can feel. We have very different things here. There's a harmonic core, a threadway, we've got orchard forests, hollow mountains, and photosynthesis fields for energy, minerals, and food, and a communal biome, which is kind of the core district on the world. We don't seem to have population either. No population whatsoever. The Wilderness comes with a unique city set and diplomatic room. Any empire can play with it, but it was made for the Wilderness. The avian-eyed among you may have spotted that they have a new resource type icon up there. That is biomass. You see the biomass at the top there on the screen, just to the right of food, left of alloys? Yes. Biomass is gained by growing new pops. I thought they didn't have any pops. Okay, and is used for developing your planets and colonizing new ones. Since we will be spending biomass to grow buildings, the devs don't expect us to have enough around to work them. That is why all Wilderness pops come with a +1000 workforce modifier. The devs ask us not to figure out some exploit to smuggle them out of the Empire. Oh yeah, if we can get them out of the Empire, that would be amazing. Sell them on the galactic market somehow, get them to become refugees. Ooh, yes, 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 yes. So there are pops, but there are very few pops, and each pop is worth 1,000 pops, it seems. So it seems we're going to be creating special buildings that are going to provide jobs, and those jobs will just give us output. The jobs do require some biomass alongside normal resources like food and minerals. The buildings, I should say, not the jobs. And they do kind of normal things. Cradle of Rebirth here seems to be giving us synapse drones or something like that. Maybe it's more population biomass. Bone Garrison for soldier jobs. Avatar Cradle for maintenance drone jobs and also housing capacity, I think. I'm a bit confused so far exactly how it's going to work with very few pops or living as a planet. Yeah, let's see. colonization, though, is quite a bit different. We don't need colony ships. Instead, we terraform a planet so we can become the planet. Once you have relearned how to navigate the economy as a living planet, you can spread your spores outward, terraforming a new world using biomass, awakening a new colony in your image. Here is the event that fires Theglan 3 Awakens. Our terraforming spores have fulfilled their purpose, delivering a part of ourself to colonize an alien world for the first time. Becoming Theglan 3 as well as Talon, it already feels so familiar to us. A comfortable way of being. Despite taking on so many new forms under a once alien sun, we have adapted easily to the pre-existing conditions there. Our superstructures, our nutrients, our very DNA have begun adapting and mingling with the life that existed here before us. So basically, we're going to take over a planet entirely, subsume every living creature on it, and then make them part of our hive mind collective. That kind of sounds really dystopian. Yikes. Okay, yeah, Ego was the bad guy in Guardians of the Galaxy 2, and I'm really feeling that right now. The caption here does read, and I like this: Planet Houston, we have liftoff. I do like that one. The Wilderness origin is compatible with most civics available to hive minds, but the devs managed to satisfy an edgy little primal part of themselves when they designed the automatically generated names for the Devouring Swarm variant, the Blood Forest, and I'm being told I need to read these with intensity and the melodrama that they deserve. Malevolent Twilight of Telon, Gorespun Invasion of Telon, Rootbound Wastes of Telon, Unquenchable Tangle of Telon, Crimson Seed Eclipse of Telon, Carrion-born Maya of Telon. With those names out of the way, there's so much more the devs could show us about the Wilderness, apparently. The tradition swaps, altered technologies, the many unique buildings you'll get. But at this point, they'd like us to find out on our own. I'm really interested to find out how pops are working here. If we're a planet, how does it work with the pops? Because this UI doesn't seem to show population right now. Or maybe I'm just misreading it, but I swear the UI we had earlier, which had stability and then crime between that, I think that's where population goes, and I'm not seeing any population. So I'm not really sure how the population works. Then they've said that each pop produces 1,000 workforce, so I'm really interested to know how the whole economy is going to work and how it's balanced. That could be really fun. It's definitely a very unique playstyle. I'm excited to try it out. It might not be my favorite. I do like playing regular biological empires, trading, researching, growing my population, committing genocide, the important things. But definitely I'd like to try this one out for certain. It's now time to look through a partial release notes for the next patch coming out on May 5th. That's Monday, May the 5th. It's coming very, very soon. So what is in the Biogenesis? So this is the major features only. There will be a full patch notes coming out at release. I will go over that roughly when it comes out, but let's for now go through the major features, the major bits coming in this next DLC, and on top of that, the 4.0 free update. So they've overhauled the Genetic Ascension. This is paid features we're starting with, by the way, Biogenesis features. You can now choose from 3 ascension paths: cloning, purity, or mutation. You can evolve your empire's government into one of 18 advanced authorities. Enhanced authorities, I should say. You can customize your Genetic Ascension by blending these paths, purity, cloning, and mutation, to get custom tradition trees. That's really quite exciting. I hope they implement that more in future. I'm very much interested to see how that pans out. There is a new biological ship set. You can command living fleets that evolve alongside your empire. We've seen these, some of them look so powerful. Customize these ships for specialized roles, from battleships, which have 3 XL slots at the largest level of growth, to support vessels, each capable of empowering allies and weakening foes. There are 2 different types of ship sets here, the Spinovore and the Shellcraft ship sets. There is a new player crisis. We've covered that today, the Behemoth Fury. Let them fight. You can breed an unstoppable biological monster and unleash it on an unsuspecting galaxy to have a lot of fun. It's the Kaiju Godzilla in space crisis path. Very excited to try that one out. There are 3 new origins. evolutionary predators, which we've looked at previously. That one basically lets you eat other species and steal parts of their DNA, adding their traits to your own. It's kind of the crude carnivore origin. You can push the boundaries of species traits by unlocking and combining unique phenotype abilities to craft the ultimate adaptive empire. Then we have the Starlit Citadel. Solve the mystery of your empire's biological attackers while boosting hyperlane choke point strategies, because you get early access to the new Deep Space Citadel megastructure, a starbase that is designable and you can place anywhere in your system that isn't directly on top of a planet or a star. You can put it at a choke point, you can put it inside the system. You can also build multiple, so we're going to get the starbase flowers once again, it seems. The last origin is Wilderness that we just covered. That one is all about creating a sapient planetary ecosystem, a living gestalt of countless life forms united in alleged harmony. We also get a new Fallen Empire, the Hive Fallen Empire, which is a splintered empire that has 3 distinct factions, personality types, and is going to be offering you new tasks, new quests to complete. When it finally awakens, it's going to be doing some crazy things. There are allegedly 7 new civics. I think this is just a typo here. There are 7 new civics: genetic identification, crowdsourcing, familiar space, aerospace, adaptation, shared genetics, civil education, and body snatchers. Okay, so it was redacted earlier, but then in the notes, they've said that it's called body snatchers. I said it was like the invasion of the body snatchers. God damn it, I was right. I do feel quite good about that. And I'd like to point out, I did not read these patch notes until after having read through all of the dev diary stuff, so I definitely didn't read ahead and cheat, I pinky promise. Then we've got the Deep Space Citadel megastructure. We've already talked about that one. 12 new species portraits that are evolving and changing with levels and roles. So that is similar to the cybernetic and synthetic portraits we got back with the Machine Age, and I believe that is in addition to the whole swathe of new mammalian portraits we are getting for free. There are new phenotype species traits, so there are 16 new traits based on the abilities of your species. If you pick reptiles, you might get egg laying. If you pick avian, you will get egg laying as well. If you pick mammalian, you probably won't get egg laying. You see how it's working here? Depending on the portrait you pick, that's going to have a big impact now on the traits that are available to your species. You're also going to get wilderness-themed city set and diplomatic rooms, new music, and 65 new events added to the game. Overall, this feels like a lot until I release my review video on Monday, on the 5th, when this DLC comes out. I don't want to say too much about it, but reading through this, it does feel like there are slightly fewer features than Machine Age, but maybe I'm wrong there. I think we are going to have to wait and see. Now we're going to jump over and look at the 4.0 Phoenix features. These are the brand new free features everyone will get access to when 4.0 comes out on the Revenge of the 5th. The planet economy has been reworked. Pops are dead, long live pops. Planets produce and consume resources through jobs now, not through pops. Districts provide jobs based on their development. District specializations dictate what job types are provided by districts and what buildings may be built. Buildings typically modify the output of the jobs as well. This is going to be a massive economic rework. If you've been trying out the beta, it's really different, ladies and gentlemen. I think a lot of us are going to have to, in many ways, not relearn the full game, because a lot of the mechanics are going to be similar, but I think we're going to have to relearn the balance. The balance is changing. I feel a great disturbance in it, as if a million players have cried out all at once and then been silenced. Pop groups and workforce game concepts have been introduced. Pops are now grouped together based on species, strata, ethics, and faction. This should, in the worst case, reduce lag because we're going to have fewer pops due to this grouping. Pop numbers have been increased by a factor of 100 because that's now just an attribute in an individual pop, basically. I think that's how they've coded it mechanically. This allows more granular manipulation of pops by various systems. Pops produce workforce that fill up jobs. This should also reduce computations done every month, so the game should go faster in the mid to late game. Basically, what you should read here is lag reduction. Lag reduction. A civilian stratum has been added to represent the masses that do not generally contribute to the Empire's military economy. Though I'd assume the people producing consumer goods and research don't contribute to a military economy. This is kind of the clerks now, basically. They're kind of the clerks, it seems. But you can make them a bit stronger than clerks because they get bonuses for being unemployed, I think, is what's going on there. Pop growth has been reworked. All pop groups on a planet have simultaneous growth every month following the existing logistic growth formulas. Underrepresented pops are no longer given population growth bonuses. Fractional growth is not retained from month to month. If a pop group would have fractional growth, it has a chance to gain one pop that month based on that fraction, which should in essence equal the same thing over a large enough sample size. All migration is now handled through the auto-migration system rather than the push and pull that previously affected pop growth. So your pops don't get push and pull migration anymore, they will just leave. The minimum growth for small colonies has been removed. Early colonization will be heavily reliant on migration from your empire capital. So without having the minimum growth penalties removed, the logistic growth equation becomes very nasty at the extreme ends of that curve. So when you've got loads of pops and not much living space left, you're going to get massive reductions. And when you have very few pops, doesn't matter about the living space size, you're going to get massive reductions to growth. The developers have added Empire focuses and a new timeline. The Empire timeline lets us keep track of important milestones as we play through. It's available in a tab in the situation log view, so it allows us basically to go back and look at what happened throughout our run. Very similar to the Chronicle, I forget what it's called, in EU4, that lets you go back and look at what every ruler in your nation did throughout your playthrough. The Empire Focus tasks introduce short and medium-term goals for players to strive for. They offer an alternative way of unlocking key technologies. I believe they've said in the past battleships, for example, and megastructures can be unlocked by completing these goals, so it doesn't have to be left up to RNG. Empires can choose between conquest, exploration, and development as their primary empire focus. This affects what type of tasks are drawn. Tasks may also be thrown away at a small cost in Unity if you don't like the task you've got. Trade has been revamped into a standard resource. It is now used as the market currency. What does this mean? What impact does this have? Well, basically, energy is now, and you'll pardon my French, shit. Alright? Energy is shit. Why is energy shit? And I've said that 3 times now, but honestly, it's worth saying. Previously, if we produced excess energy, which we could produce a lot more energy than we could minerals, it was obviously or usually quite viable to go into energy production early game, use that extra energy to buy the resources you needed. You could buy, for 1.3 energy, 1 mineral, so the transaction there was pretty good. Now you have to sell the energy to get trade value, so you're selling 1.3 energy for 1 trade, then you have to sell 1.3 trade to get your hands on 1 mineral. That means there is a 30% devaluation in the value of the energy credit in your empire. Ladies and gentlemen, energy now kind of sucks, basically. 30% devaluation on the value of energy. I am shocked. Will nobody think of the economy? I mean, honestly, we're getting space tariffs here. It is terrible. There is now a 30% tariff on all energy sales in Stellaris, and it will hurt, okay? I've been trying out the 4.0 beta, and it hurts. The trade route system has been removed. That's actually awesome. I love that. Ships now have logistical upkeep paid by trade. I didn't really notice that being very much of a problem in the beta, to be honest. Maybe it wasn't implemented yet, actually. Based on whether they are docked, it's free. They're in friendly space, it's reduced, neutral space, normal, or hostile space. Oh, I had them docked most of the time in my testing. Okay, that's why. Maybe I should go to war and find out that, oh my goodness me, it hurts going to war now. Larger ships get higher upkeep, and juggernauts do not have logistical upkeep. In fact, they reduce the logistical upkeep cost for ships in their system by 75%. So juggernauts are much better now, mainly because they're reducing the upkeep cost of all your ships. Planets will now have logistical upkeep paid by trade based on their local resource deficits. Local deficit costs vary based on the base market value of the resources. Trade policies can set how much of your net trade after logistics upkeep is converted into other resources, but that first gets stored in kind of a bank, and then once it's been stored in the bank for long enough and you've maxed out your capacity, then you start converting the excess. That's basically how that works now. They've added galaxy setup sliders for fleet upkeep logistic costs and planetary deficit logistic costs. I'm assuming that means you can just ignore these features if you don't like them and get rid of them entirely. On top of that, the databank game info library has been added. The main help button now displays the databank window where you can explore brief articles on many in-game concepts. That is the partial release notes for the major features. There is a lot coming in 4.0. I think this may be the biggest release we've kind of had since 3.1, since the LEM update, or maybe the 2.2 update. Probably actually 2.2 when we got rid of tiles. I'm apprehensive. The beta has been... the beta's had some issues when we've been playing it. The open beta's had some issues, but it has been out for a while. I'm confident the devs wouldn't be releasing the game if it's not ready. I hope that Paradox have learnt from, for example, City Skylines 2, and they're not going to push this out if it's not ready to be released. If they do, I think they're going to be in for a lot of disappointed players if we get a really buggy, crap release. On the other hand, if the game does what it says on the tin, if we get all of these new features, I'm really excited to dump back in and play a game that has less lag, where trade is now a more important, valuable commodity, because it was a bit silly how important energy was. I was raving earlier about the tariffs on energy now, but it was a bit silly how you could basically run your economy in the early game on mainly energy alone. And buy, an extra 40 minerals, 25 consumer goods, 10 alloys, and just ignore lots of food, and just ignore a lot of things because you're producing all of that excess energy. I did say it earlier in this video, but I am going to be releasing a review of Stellaris Biogenesis, not the 4.0 update, the free update, just the paid DLC. I'll be releasing that at the same time the DLC releases, so if you're not sure if you want to buy it and you'd like my opinion on that, then wait until Monday, wait until the 5th, when the Sith will get their revenge and you can find out just a little bit more. If you've stuck with me throughout this gargantuan video, because we've combined 2 dev diaries and a patch notes now in one single video, thank you very much. I'm going to have a little secret call out here. We're right at the end. Why not? If you've still stuck around to this point, please let me know by using the word wilderness or a wilderness related word in your comment down below. I'm going to try and reply to as many comments as I can in the first few hours after this video comes out. I think there's a lot to talk about here. We've gone through a lot of new content for the game. Overall, I'm excited but apprehensive. That's, I think, my overall feeling. Don't forget, if you'd like to purchase Stellaris Season 9 or pre-purchase Biogenesis, or in fact anything from Paradox Interactive, you can do so using our link or going directly to the Paradox store to buy your Steam keys and using our code MONTUPLAYS to also support this channel, as a proportion of your purchase will go towards this channel instead. If you're interested in finding out more about the new designable starbases and Fortress Origin, you'll want to click the video on screen now.